Are you hoping to add horseback riding to your Ireland itinerary? I can have you off the plane at Shannon Airport and on the back of a horse within 15 minutes of picking up your rental car. I'm going to tell you exactly where you can go in today's podcast. Today's podcast is sponsored by irishcarrentals.com. When you're looking for an unbeatable quote, visit irishcarrentals.com and use code IFV for Ireland Family Vacations in the promotions box to save an extra 10%. Now, let's talk about horseback riding in County Clare.
Hi everyone, and thank you so much for joining me again here on the Traveling in Ireland podcast. Today we are headed back to County Clare, and we're going to take a little virtual experience of horseback riding. I have with me Sarah O'Brien from Castlefergus Riding Stables, which is not too far from the Shannon Airport. So Sarah, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Jody. Great to be on the show.
So when people think of airports, at least large airports, you're surrounded by usually concrete and city. And Shannon Airport is much different because it's almost like the minute you leave Shannon Airport, you're in the beautiful Irish countryside, which explains how Castlefergus Riding Stables can be just 15 minutes from the airport.
So Shannon Airport is great because it's only literally 15 minutes from us, and it has direct flights coming in all the time from the UK and the US. So it's very accessible, and you literally only have to arrive about 2 hours beforehand. So there's no stress or anything. And immediately once you leave the airport, you're surrounded by lovely, green, lush meadows and forests. So it's very picturesque. Castlefergus then stables, so we're set in the heart of County Clare in a very historic and quaint village called Quin, and it's on the west coast of Ireland. We're run by the O'Brien family, and we've had the stables the last 30 years. So it's myself, my mum, my dad, my sister, and my brother. So you basically get to meet all the family when you come horse riding.
And that's another lovely thing about Ireland is that when people say family-owned business, you really are. I mean, you're meeting the family, you're learning about their business, you're, kind of getting this personal experience. And I think that's one thing that people really, really love when they travel to Ireland is knowing that they're dealing with the people, the people who run the businesses. They're not dealing with a corporate entity, if you will.
Yes, I mean, there's so much history just within, all over County Clare and within Quin. So you get the stories, of the farm and the history from the county, from all of us. And I suppose, obviously, my parents are of a slightly older generation. They're in their 50s, but I'm in my 30s, and my sister are only in their 20s. So there's lots of different, stories, I suppose, throughout the years that you get to hear from all of us as well, which is the nice thing. And all the tours are always guided by one of us. So, I mean, we will do tours of just if it's one person that wants to go out, or if there's a family, or a tour as big as, 10 or 12 can all ride together. But here we like to keep them all personalised. So if it's just yourself coming, you'll have myself, my mum or dad will bring you out, and if there's another group that wants to go at the same time, it's one of us that will take them. So all your tours are private. So, they're intimate, and you get to hear the stories on a personal basis as well. You never have to share with another group as well, which makes it nice.
Oh, that is really nice. And I was reading on your website that you're available year-round for tours. And I think that's one thing that people worry about if they're traveling to Ireland, maybe in the late fall, winter type months, that they're going to have a harder time.
It's actually been very busy this morning, so we're having a beautiful, I suppose, autumn, winter here at the moment. But look, every year is different. But sometimes, as I say, there's a lot that come from California, and they don't get to experience the beautiful fall that we guys do. So we still have, the leaves are just gone down now, but there still is that little bit of colour change around. And then in the springtime, we have, all the wild iris, the daffodils are up, there's the wild bluebells in the forest, and obviously all the baby lambs and foals are out and about. And so there's kind of colour that to come all year round. And we do stay open, and we're very flexible. Obviously, it's important that people can try book ahead of time because we do get busy. But we understand if it's the weather, if it is to get a little bit wetter, which it does in Ireland, then we'll try reschedule, for even the next day, or we'll try to be flexible that way, because obviously that's important, because people do worry a little bit what way the weather is going to be. But you're coming to Ireland for the scenery. You're not coming to get your suntan. So everyone, you have to I suppose get on with it in a way.
Very true, very true. You don't visit Ireland for the weather, you visit for the beauty and the history and the people, that's for sure. So can you tell me a little bit about your farm? I know that you have a sheep farm, and it's rather large for Ireland, I believe. And
yeah, so we have 100 acres altogether with farm and woodland. And so there's about 120 sheep at the moment, and they're due to have their babies now, baby lambs next March. So they're going to double the numbers, because most of them have twins and triplets. So you're talking about 250 babies, lambs, sheep, everything kind of in March to summertime. So it's quite busy. And then we have, usually there's 2 or 3 mares that have baby foals as well in May. So lots of babies that time of year. So the types of horses that we would use here are Connemara's, which are a native breed to Ireland. And then we have the Irish draft horse, which is the national horse of Ireland, dating back to the 18th century. And then we have the Irish sport horse, which is also known as the Irish hunter, which is a result of a cross of an Irish draft with another breed, historically being the thoroughbred. So they're mostly the horses and ponies that we would use here on the farm. And we've also many other things as well. We have 2 lovely friendly dogs that everyone loves and wants to take home with them when they come to us. We have chickens, cats, and we have some goats as well. So quite a lot of everything else up around the farmyard, not alone when you go out the fields and meet everything else down there.
so it's a busy working farm as well as running the trail rides.
Yeah, all go. Never a dull moment.
Now, so I was reading again on your website, and I see that you have everything from little 30-minute rides up to 2-hour treks, and it seemed like your treks were really scenic. I mean, rides along the river, castle views, ring forts, railway arches. It seems like it spans a really beautiful bit of land.
Yeah, I mean, we're very lucky to have such a beautiful setting. So we do cater for all ages and abilities. Sometimes people worry that, they're well able to ride, but their husband has never been on a horse, and that's fine. Everyone can go out and do the same ride, whether you want to go for an hour or up to 2 hours. We'll all ride in the same fields, and whoever is, well able to ride, they can enjoy some trotting and cantering in the same fields. So altogether we have a lot of horses. There's 36 at the moment.
Wow.
So lots of mouths to feed. So there's about 15, big horses, 14-2, 15-2, 16 hand, and then we have a lot of 12-2 ponies. So we would cater for children, as young as 3, to go out on, the rides. They've often gone out and even done the 2-hour rides. It's up to the child, really. If they feel able for it, there'll be someone on foot that will lead them and walk beside them on their little pony. So we're very lucky. We have a beautiful 15th century castle that's located beside our stables, and it was built in 1490 by the McNamara family. So lots of history there that you get to learn about when you go out on the trails. And then we ride down along by the River Rhine, where you get to see the water reeds that they use to actually make the thatch roofs for the traditional cottages in Ireland, down along the banks. And we ride up along, the banks of the river as well, so you get to see, panoramic views of the farm, but also onto other neighbouring farms. So that it's quite a lovely view of the Irish countryside on horseback that you don't get to see basically if you're driving a car. So it's a nicer way, and you get to get your Irish fresh air in there as well. So often we have there's ducks and there's swans actually down on the river as well, that people get to see as well as you're riding along. Then, of course, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, in the summer times, in particular spring, summer, you've all the baby lambs running around. So we had their Belclare and Hampshire breeds of sheep that we use. So there's lots of them, and as all year round we do keep the sheep, but I suppose in particular the kids love to see them, right up, I suppose, April to, I suppose, the end of August. They're still babies running around the place. And also we're very lucky to have ring forts and fairy forts when on the farm. We actually have four of them here. So they have oodles of history as well for people to learn about. So I suppose for anyone that doesn't know what a ring fort is, they are circular fortified settlements that were mostly built during the Bronze Age up to the year 1000. So I suppose they were almost nearly the first thing here, I suppose, after the dinosaurs, really. And they're found, all over Northern Europe in particular, but mostly in Ireland and in Wales. And also then there's the fairy forts, which are more or less the same thing. They're the remains of ring forts, also, dating back Bronze Age to early Christian times, and a lot of them are believed that the fairy forts were built on sacred grounds. And I suppose the magical thing that people love to hear about is the fairy forts in Irish folklore. People say that this is where the fairies live, and people have long believed that these locations of the ring forts contain, the magic of ancient druids, and that, they were the residents for what they used to describe as the good, or the little people. So, I suppose we say come down maybe late at night and you'll see the fairies running around is when you're best to meet them. So they're quite a magical experience, because even though there is quite a lot in Ireland, again, they're harder to find unless you're kind of off the beaten track. A lot of these are quite covered over. Obviously, they've been here hundreds of years now, so it is a nice way to see them on horseback. And then we're also very lucky. We pass up through an old, railway track that's running, and there's beautiful old arches that run along, divide all the fields. So they're quite scenic, and they were built in 1854. And I suppose the big thing was when they were building this in, the railway in 1854, there was a big gold find, and it said that it was the largest gold find in Europe that was located only 10 minutes from our farm. And a lot of those monuments that they found are up in the National Museum in Dublin. So, we're spoiled for history. I suppose we nearly run out of the stories that people need more time than the shorter rides that we offer almost. So there's lots to hear from, on the farm, off the farm, that there's so much history going on here.
It's a beautiful area and a historic area. And I know that I've been following your Instagram account for quite a while, and the pictures are stunning, and it really makes you want to get out and explore Ireland, outside of a car, and really kind of immerse yourself in that countryside. But one thing I do want to mention to anybody who maybe hasn't been to Europe is that the saddles are not your typical American Western saddle. So it is a little bit of a learning experience to situate yourself on that English saddle.
Yeah, but it's like I describe it. It's like the driving almost. It's a fun little challenge, when you come to Ireland, you have to drive on the side of the road. So it's something fun. Yeah. So people do enjoy it. So with the English saddle, it's slightly smaller. We don't have the horn, but actually people find them a lot comfier. First of all, they're thinking, God, I'm so used to the Western saddle, but then they almost want to go home and take up English riding after it. So it's a lot smoother, I suppose. The English saddle is, easier to jump and everything. So, that's why we would use it a lot more here, and people post a little bit different, but before we start all the treks, we bring you up to the arena just for a 5-minute briefing, and if people want to learn how to trot or to post, we can do that on the English saddle. But it's something a little different, but I think it adds to the experience as well, and people always love it, I think.
Excellent. And I always recommend that the minute you land in Ireland, after especially arriving from the U.S., you've flown overnight, you're going to be jet lagged. I always recommend getting out and being active. And gosh, I can't think of a better way to really just get out and breathe that amazing fresh air than to hop on the back of a horse and see the countryside.
Yeah, so we have a lot of people. We had a group of ladies just the weekend who literally flew into Shannon, and I'd say they were here about after their car. They got their car about 20 minutes later and were on the horse, and they said it was the best way to get over their jet lag. They said it was better than any coffee to get out there into the fresh air. So we're very lucky to be located so close to the airport, and as I say, it's doing fantastic direct flights coming in, especially New York, Boston, Chicago side, because not alone have you got this lovely area to explore. We're right beside Galway, and the lovely Mayo, Sligo, so we're right on the Wild Atlantic Way. So we're so close to it that people like to, either if they don't, after getting off the plane, sometimes they just want to go to the cliffs, that they'll do us on the way back to the airport or on the way going to Killarney. So we're at an ideal road because we're so close off the main road, let's say, getting from Killarney to Galway or vice versa. We're only 50 minutes from the cliffs of Moher, so that's kind of a huge attraction that people like to get to see. So where you'll definitely get your fresh air up there on the cliffs as well.
Right. And speaking of other places to visit, I always wrap up my my podcasts with recommendations of places you think people should add to their itinerary when they visit Ireland, and you have some really amazing recommendations that are right there nearby.
Yeah, so there's oodles. I could be here for ages going through them all, really. So I suppose the top ones that I would pick and that I love, even though they're only 15 minutes or so from us, I have been to them loads of times and I never get bored of them. I suppose the first one being Queen Abbey. It's a beautiful old abbey that was built in 1402, and that's only located about 5 minutes from us, so that's beautiful to get some pictures, and it's quite big. You can go in and explore around it. Then only 10 minutes on from there, there's a beautiful 16th century castle and archaeological open-air museum called Craginown, so that's fun, especially for all ages, and sometimes people are bringing young kids and they're kind of wondering, what am I going to do that's going to keep them entertained as well, can be a harder thing. And they find that great as well, the kids, like that as well down there. And then also, if you haven't got enough of our lovely ring forts and fairy forts, there's some beautiful ones up in Mahon. So that's another, only 15 minutes from us. And up there's probably about 6 or 7, and they're quite big ones, and they have beautiful walks in along through the woods there, and they also have kind of signs up to go through the history behind them as well. So some people like to kind of get a further delve into that as well. And the thing about Mahon Woods, which is extra special as well, it's also located beside, it's at the back of the woods for Dromoland Castle. So you can kind of kill two birds with one stone, basically, because you can see, the lovely castle of Dromoland as well, which has beautiful walks up there, and a beautiful old walled garden and lakes up there that people like to explore there as well. So there's kind of a lot to keep you busy, I suppose, that with the horse riding, you have a jam-packed day. You probably wouldn't even get all of that in, because we're also near, which a lot of people like to do, is Bunratty Castle Folk Park. So that's a beautiful old medieval castle there as well. And you have the folk park where, they have the old traditional Irish cottages that where people enact kind of how it was, going back medieval times. So they're making traditional scones and, apple tarts, and kind of how everything was back in the day almost. So again, another thing that kind of keeps the kids entertained, and the adults. Everyone seems to love it down there. So that's a beautiful old village down there,
right,
with lots of nice places for shopping and just before you get on your flight home, so it keeps everyone busy.
I think that that this is a perfect reason to just plan to spend a couple of days about 20 minutes from Shannon Airport.
Yeah. As I say, even a lot of people, their base is Bunratty, because so the horse riding is here, all the other stuff I've just mentioned, and it's so close to the cliffs and to get to Galway City that even people, with the flights being so close coming into New York now, you're only talking 5.5 one way, 6 hours the other way. It's, it's quicker to go there than some places across the USA that people even are coming over just for 4 days. It sounds a little bit mad, but you actually get to see quite a lot of the countryside. It's jam-packed, but it's good.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much for sharing about your riding stables and what people can see if they take the time to do a horse riding trek with you, and then those beautiful places that are so nearby, so easy for people to add to their itinerary when they visit County Clare.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
As always, any links to podcasts or websites can be found in the show notes. If you enjoyed the podcast today, please leave a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app, because that helps other people find this podcast. And until next time, Slán go fóill.